Welcome to Ask Psych Sessions, where we ask some of the best teachers in psychology questions from you, our audience. If you would like to send in a question or an idea for a conversation, please visit bit.ly/AskPsychSessions. That's bit.ly/AskPsychSessions, all lowercase, no spaces. And here's our next question. I'm here with Tuonimen from my very own institution, Cascadia College, and Anne is a sociologist, but she is also our instructional designer at the college. And Anne, are you surviving this week?
Yes, I am surviving it. I'm very tired, but I'm just as tired as most of our faculty colleagues are probably.
Yeah, you were telling me beforehand that you were sitting in a Zoom chat and a Zoom video, and you had two other things going on at the same time while you're trying to support faculty through this transition.
Yep, and actually those were all faculty sessions. One was a Zoom class, a Japanese class, another was a Zoom math class, and then I was trying to maintain my own Zoom room in case faculty were coming in, and somebody was chatting with me too. So yeah, lots of, and mostly it's just, I think people just want to practice and just need a little bit of support there, and that's what I'm there for, I guess. Just sometimes it just helps to practice on a colleague.
Right. So, do you at our institution do most people kind of know if they even if they've never taught fully online, do most people have enough experience with our learning management system that this is like a I wouldn't say an easy transition, but that they feel like they can manage it?
That's a really good question. I'm not really sure that the transition has been that easy, especially for some disciplines. I think those of us that teach in a more hybrid modality, that is, we support our learning with a lot of online presence. We use the LMS heavily, even when we're teaching face to face, probably a little bit easier for those of us that do that. For the STEM classes, really challenging. And the hardest thing is to be both, to do a little bit of face to face and to do online and kind of be in both modalities without it being a formal hybrid. I think that's been the biggest challenge, is just go fully online. And once you're there, then it's actually okay, but we're not quite there yet.
Yeah, that's interesting. I have found the hybrid modality to be absolutely the most challenging. So here we are in this situation where Washington State, many institutions in Washington State, and many institutions around the country are moving faculty online. And I wanted to talk to you or ask you about transparency and clarity. I know that you have been involved a lot in the TILT initiative that we kind of, I think, embraced as a state. And I want this to be helpful to faculty who are moving online. I think they're going to be familiar with just making, the importance of making assignments clear, just in general. But maybe you can just talk about why that's what is transparency in learning and teaching, and then why is it important for online education in particular?
Oh, that's a good question. So, of course, the TILT, I guess you call it initiative framework, is something that is not done by our institution. We've just embraced it here in our state, and then I've made sort of our Cascadia version of how we tilt things. So it's very malleable, but it is just essentially helping students understand why they're doing an assignment, what they're going to get out of the assignment, what the expectations are for the assignment, and how they're going to be assessed on the assignment. And online, if you can provide that kind of structure, then you're already helping your students quite a bit, because you would maybe be offering those details face to face. Spontaneously, a student might ask a clarifying question. But if you can provide assignments that are using the TILT structure, where you offer the purpose, and within the purpose, you tell students what the skills and knowledge are that they're going to achieve. And then the next item is you tell them what the tasks are, and then you tell them the criteria for understanding, or the criteria for success. If you can provide that up front for them on a LMS assignment page, you'll have a lot fewer questions, because you've already you've kind of preempted the questions that might come through.
I love that because lots of faculty are probably moving into a depth of online instruction right now where maybe they need to have less student questions. And I really think you're right that tilting things, we'll use it as a verb, right?
Hmm.
That tilting things, giving the purpose, giving the tasks, giving the criteria for grading or earning points up front, and being really clear and systematic about that is going to not only serve your students well, it's going to serve you well as well. So, what do you think this does? And I know you're not an expert on student anxiety or anything like that, but let's think about our students for a second who are being thrown into completely online classes. What do you think it's like for a student to have a tilted assignment versus a non-tilted one?
Well, it's really interesting is that first of all, students need to be sort of oriented to the fact that their assignments are tilted, because they don't expect it. They don't know they don't really realize that actually those questions you have, I've answered them for you on this document because they're so used to getting, we're pretty wordy people, we academics.
Yeah.
And so they're used to getting materials like that. And so many of them may not even realize that what you're offering them is an assignment in sort of a new, improved, tighter format. So first of all, it helps maybe to go over a tilted assignment maybe the first time that you offer one. And then students know to look back to that because I've had the experience. I teach 300 level students at another institution, and I noticed that my students were not familiar with the tilt framework, and I was noticing they were not invoking, for example, the purpose of the paper that they were writing. And so I was saying, go back to the assignment, look at what the purpose was that I communicated to you, use that verbiage to create your own statement of why you're writing this paper. So that's one thing, is that you need to orient your students to it. But once they see that and they expect that out of all of your assignments, and hopefully your colleagues are also doing it, I think it does a lot to alleviate anxiety. And there's the Tilt framework and the Tilt initiative, the organizers, they've done research on this. We have evidence that shows us that students feel more supported, they feel more part of the community. And this is especially true for students who have been typically marginalized or disadvantaged students in our institutions of higher education. So it has really meaningful impact for us, those of us that are really trying hard to create equitable learning situations.
Well, and it goes even beyond the classroom. I mean, this is really for this moment we're trying to support instructors who are going to be moving online, but it does go beyond the classroom. I mean, you and I even talk, I think, sometimes about how are we structuring email communications and maybe communications with students that are not formal assignments, but those two can be done in such a way that we give a purpose statement at the top. What is this thing about, before we get into it, and we really are thinking about how is this communication being received by either a colleague or a student in this
Mhm.
case as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that some of our administrators are starting to tilt meetings. I tilt all of my work. I mean, I don't do so many workshops, but those that I do, and in fact, the Tilt Faculty Learning Circle that I repeated for the second time this year, that learning circle was presented in Tilt format. I think it resonates with people. And don't know if you are going to go there, but I do want to say that it's not the easiest thing in the world to tilt something for the first time, because we feel like we are very clear, but we always need to have a sounding board. And that's one of the things about the way that Tilt works, is that you work in, they call them charrettes, but in partnerships with you share what you have tilted with a colleague from a different discipline. And that really helps you kind of realize, oh, I think I'm clear, because of course we're clear to ourselves, but what do outsiders, how do they perceive what we're creating? So part of tilting is also a collaboration with colleagues, usually from different disciplines, because that makes it even a tighter, richer uh, reflection of assignment. I guess what I'm saying is that if you have somebody that's not of your discipline looking at that same assignment, they're going to ask you questions that might be somewhat similar to what students might ask.
Yeah, I had a very valuable experience doing that with somebody in another discipline. So I would highly recommend it. Now, Tilt is coming out of the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, I think, and I'm sure that there's more information people can find there. Is that true?
You know what? I am going to quickly. The Tilt has moved
Has
to
it?
tilthighered.com.
TiltHigherEd.com.
So Tilt Higher Ed is all one word. Mhm.
Okay, well, folks, go to tilthighered.com. And Anne, thank you for taking the time, especially on such a busy day, to chat with us.
You're welcome.